True life confession of a witch woman named Regina NYEKPUNWO AMADI. This is incredible and insidiously sad. My names are Regina NYEKPUNWO AMADI. I am a native of Ikwer, from Gbasimini, also known as Rumuame, Orokwar's family in Mile 4 Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. What I am about to say is of a true life confession, irrespective of the outcome of my confession. There's no problem even if I will pay with my own blood, to die, after confessing the truth to the world. I just want to let the world know the truth and let my mind be free of guilt before my death. I don't need any forgiveness from anybody, not even from God, because my practice, evil deeds, and position in the witchcraft rhyme has gone beyond forgiveness, and I have satisfied my mind and that of my queen mother, as well as fulfilling my promise to the secret temple, Voodoo's temple, where I belong from anyone. This is my confession. It all started sometime in 1976 when I went to visit an old woman in my family who was my bosom friend, though she's dead physically, but I will not mention her name because her soul still dwells in the secret temple. This old woman sells beans cake, also known as akara and raw pap, when she was alive. One day, I went to visit her as usual in her house. Reaching there, she brought some prepared pap and some fried akara and invited me over the breakfast. No doubt, I rationed the food with her, not knowing that she bewitched the food and succeeded in initiating me into witchcraft world via the food we ate together. Thereafter, every night in my sleep by 1 a.m. I will be hearing my name. Some voices I don't know will be calling me to come out and join them, that the hour has come. At a time, I will see myself in midst of some persons I rarely see physically, singing and dancing with them and practicing some unusual things, drinking blood in form of wine. When I wake up from my sleep the next morning and make an utterance to anybody, will happen exactly as spoken. Initially, I used to think it was just a nightmare, but I finally came to realize that I was successfully initiated into witchcraft when I began to see myself flying every midnight. The place we usually have our meetings is at Oro as a village, the big three situated along the roadside, and it is every Thursday night around 1 a.m. The first assignment they gave me was to kill my only brother and made my two sisters childless. My two sisters' wombs were also removed and offered as scarifies to the secret temple, witchcraft. Immediately after executing these assignments, I was promoted to the second level, and I acquired more powers to operate. The more blood sacrifices you make, the more powers you acquire. The second assignment was to kill my proposed husband's father and mother, Kichiru's father-in-law, who came for a few weeks' visit all the way from Kaji State, Nigeria, when I was pregnant for their son. The first man that was supposed to marry me, called Mr. Abe Idabia, from Kaji State and a youth corper in Rivers State, residing at Rumuame, my hometown. We had a baby, and that baby is my first son, called Kichiru AMADI. I killed my father and mother-in-law by poisoned food because they began to suspect me to be a witch. When Mr. Abe, the father of my first son Kichiru, traveled home to burial his parents, they revealed to him that I was a witch and was responsible for the death of his parents. One day, just after the burial of his parents, he came back from the village and decided to pick up his few things and left us. Since then I and our son, Kichiru AMADI, had not set our eyes on him again. Nevertheless, while I was still a teacher in 1979 in St. Tamo's Anglican Church Primary School, I was on my way to work, just at Akokuyu Junction along Ikwer Road, Port Harcourt. A nobleman called Chief Nyekeza, who was a block molder and had a block industry at Akokuyu by Amagbo School Gate, met me somewhere around Akokuyu Junction on my way to work that morning. He recognized me as his son's teacher and was asking me about our oncoming promotional examinations. I looked at him with the spiritual eyes and saw he was the kind of man I ever wanted. In response to his question, I told him to give me the address to his office, that I would come to see him later at the office to update him after proper verification about what he needed to know, and he gave me his complimentary card, after work period. I went to see him at his office. Reaching there, I seduced him spiritually, and instantly he asked me for friendship without hesitation, which I accepted irrespective of the fact that he already had a legitimately married wife called Mrs. Fin Baby Wichi, who already had 5 5 children for him, 4 boys and I girl. After we had established a relationship, Chief NYEKPUNWO usually came to my house at Oroquar to have funs with me because he had a wife and children at home. I tried everything I could to make Chief take me to his house, but he wouldn't do that. Instead he kept talking about his beloved first son called Chiminum Henshawishi. He so much loved the son and talked about him all the time, so I became so much jealous about the whole thing, and I realized the only way to break through was to take his mind off the son. I thought of what to do. The Queen Mother told me the only way was to afflict the son with deaf and dumb, that way his love for the son would completely fade away. No doubt, I did exactly what Queen Mother said, and gradually he got tired of the son's sudden untreatable handicap, deaf and dumb, which automatically rendered the wife very unhappy for as long as she lived. The wife, Mrs. Fina Babywishi, then became a stumbling block to me, no way to come into Chief's house and take over everything as already planned in the secret temple, witchcraft. So one Thursday night, at about 1 a.m. while we were on meeting, the Queen Mother sent I and another witch called Confusion to go in between Chief and his wife to unleash confusion so that I could penetrate and subdue the wife's spirit. That night, Chief and his wife fought till dawn. During this fighting period, I came to Chief's house spiritually. Nobody saw me. I took the wife's weave-on from her room and her wrapper while she was there fighting and quarreling her husband, Chief, and I left the room. Nobody saw me. That weave-on and wrapper were used as a point of contact to her spirit and made things easier when we wanted her blood for sacrifice. No doubt, after a month we summoned her spirit before the secret temple, witchcraft, and she was judged before the court of the secret temple and was offered as sacrificial lamb to the guilty Queen Mother for sanctification of the order secret temple, and that was how she died in the year 1996. 7 months later, after her death and burial, Chief began an arrangement for our marriage, though I never really liked Chief, but because of his wealth and riches which I was so desperate of grabbing, and I was already 3 months pregnant for Chief's tailor man called Mr. Monday Chinda, whom I actually loved and cherished because he's a machine when it comes to sex, very good in sex, and that's what I love best. Chief thought he was responsible for the pregnancy, as I claimed, based on the plans between I and Mr. Monday, who is a tailor, who actually was the rightful owner of the pregnancy. So one day, Chief traveled and did not come back the day he was supposed to. 2 days later, he came back and came to my house direct. All of a sudden he caught I and Mr. Monday on my bed red-handed making love. That was how he realized what was going on between I and Mr. Monday, which was the reason why he abandoned me and every necessary arrangements concerning the marriage plans. The Queen Mother assured me Chief would come back to me after performing some sacrifices, but instead, Chief went and married another woman and wedded her in St. Amos Anglican Church, and before I realized it, their wedding was already over and nothing could be done anymore. This was around 1998. So I vowed to destroy Chief and his family. Not only that, I went ahead and removed the womb of that woman and offered it as sacrifice to the secret order, witchcraft temple, and made her childless to Chief. Today, that woman did not bear any child for Chief, and I'm responsible for her childlessness. Her names are Mrs. Violet and Duwishi. Finally, Mr. Monday Chinda Amadi, my husband, took care of the pregnancy I had for him, Nyebuchi Prince Amadi, till I put the baby to birth, and it was a baby boy, who was named Nyebuchi Prince Amadi. After which Mr. Monday Chinda went ahead and married me, and we had another two issues, a boy and a girl named 1 Bujika Livingstone Amadi, my third son. 2 Oran Chizim Amadi, my first daughter. Later on, the secret order, Queen Mother, asked me to sacrifice my husband or I die. I had no choice than to obey. I sacrificed my husband, Mr. Monday Chinda Amadi, and became a widow. So, out of anger, I started dealing with Chief and the children of late Mrs. Fina Babywishi, Chief's late wife. No doubt, I succeeded in afflicting her only daughter, late Cynthia Wishi, with madness, who was a youth corper, and finally killed her. Her last-born, called Chimanmo Wishi, I paralyzed him with stroke and finally killed him in 2011 while he was still in year 3. in Rivers State University of Science and Technology, Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria. Few months after Chimanma's death, Chief followed. Chief Emenyekezi's death was a gradual one because that is how it was planned to be. First and foremost, he was poisoned with gradually killing charm that lasted for at least 5 to 6 months in his body and began to develop into bigger different illnesses every day and then tends to gradually lead him to his grave so that no one will ever suspect anything. Finally, we took his life around November to December 2011. Then, her third son called Bright Awichi, who is in London, I made him forget home forever and never to return to Nigeria again. Then, the only available sons being Mr. Chiminam Henshawichi and Barrister Churchill Okitiwichi, whose spirits were too stubborn for the Queen Mother, have been the only people depriving me and my children of taking charge over the properties and wealth of late Chief Emenyekeziwichi. These people were the only stumbling block in my way and refused to die. We tried everything we could, yet nothing seemed to work out. Each time we tried to call out their spirits in our secret temple, a lightning thunder appears before us and tends to get all of us burnt, including the Queen Mother. So, on our last attempt to eliminate these two souls so that my plans could be achieved, a thundering loud voice with flashes of light appears, warning us in the temple that any more attempt, well, all shall get burnt and die. After that voice had left us, the Queen Mother and other supremos gave me an abstained warning to desist or die, which I adhered with no choice. Since we couldn't extract the blood of the lawyer for sacrifice, we now wanted to take that his newly born son. I was sent to Barrister Churchill's house just a week after the wife had put a baby boy to birth to see if I would be allowed to carry or bathe the baby, but as if they knew my motive, they refused me from coming in. I felt like they knew what I was up to, so I left and reported back to the Queen Mother. So, after every attempt, neither Chimanmam, Barrister Churchill, nor his newborn son could be sacrificed. So the secret temple, witchcraft, now ordered me to offer my two sons Nyebuchi and Bujika in replacement of Chimanmam and Barrister, or I die. They have even remote my son Bujika Livingstone Amadi such that he behaves abnormally at times, and always wanting to take me to bed. He has successfully done it once with me and always wanting to do it. They now want to kill me for refusing to offer my two sons, Nyebuchi and Bujika, as sacrificial lambs to the secret temple in replacement of Mr. Chiminam Henshawichi and Barrister Churchill Owichi. I am not afraid to die, but just want the world to know the truth and the mystery behind everything that happened to Chief and his family. The restless spirits of those we took together with the secret order, Queen Mother, are now after me and my children, tormenting us day and night. The future of my children have also been nailed down in the secret temple such that they will never be useful and successful throughout their lifetime, and will have nothing to show forth no matter how much harder they labor. My pretty daughter, Oran Chizim Amadi, they have collected her womb long time ago and she can no longer bear children anymore, not in her lifetime. Please, let the world, particularly friends and well-wishers, join hands to beg my children for me. I know I have wronged them in different ways and in various processes while trying to better their lives. As for me, I'm already dead, because any time they will surely come for my soul, which was what I pledged for, and I'm not afraid to die. If I die, nobody should mourn me because I have opted for it long ago. I beg to stop here now, more confessions will be made later.